So hello everyone and welcome to our session. Thank you so much for your time and we hope you find it insightful. So we're going to be presenting our work with using knowledge graphs and large language models power legal research. So let's first begin by introducing ourselves. Please, Dr. Ahmad, introduce yourself. Dr. Ahmad, can you hear us? Can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Yeah, hello everyone.
Okay.
This is Dr. Asma. I'm the head of assessment in the competition unit, Central Bank of Egypt. And before joining the Central Bank of Egypt, I worked at the Central.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Basant Munir. I'm senior data scientist at the Central Bank of Egypt. I've previously worked with Egypt's second largest commercial bank, and I also mentor in MIT's professional education program for applied data science. And my colleague Ahmed can go next.
Hello, I'm Ahmad Abdelal. I was a data science intern at the Central Bank of Egypt. Currently, I'm
Yes,
a
we can
data
hear.
scientist at eTax.
All right, thank you so much. So this is the team that's worked on the project we're going to present today. So this is the agenda. First, we want to give you a primer on competition law. What is competition law? How is it different from the typical civil law most of you are aware of? And what's the process taken for a particular competition case to be resolved? Next, we're going to go to the pain point. We're going to show you in the decision process for a competition case where could we have some blockers and what is the proposed solution. Next, Ahmed will walk you through how to implement how we implemented the knowledge graph for this particular project. And finally, we're going to show you a hands-on demonstration on Neo4j. Okay, so now I'm going to hand the mic off to Dr. Ahmad to give you an overview of competition law, how it's different from the civil law, and how we use it in Egypt.
So competition law, as just Basant mentioned, it's differ a lot from any other regulations and laws. As competition law is mainly concerned with the commercial relationship between parties in the market. So the main purpose of competition law is to protect and promote fair competition in the market. And the purpose of doing this is to benefit public through having have lower prices, higher quality, and greater consumer choice. It's achieved by preventing anti-competitive practices, which are horizontal agreements which include pricing and market sharing, and by controlling over the abuse of dominant possession and any other anti-competitive merger and acquisition, beside controlling over vertical restraints. So moving forward, the competition law in Egypt, there are two main competent authorities are responsible for applying competition regulation in Egypt. The central bank is a competent authority that has the task of applying competition regulation in the financial sector, and this is since the change in law, central bank law in 2020. And for the whole real economy, it's up to the Egyptian Competition Authority. It is the authority that is responsible for applying competition regulation in the other sectors. So mainly competition law is concerned with two main branches. The first one is assessing merger and acquisition from the perspective of competition, of course, because the assessing merger and and of course, the competition law violations, as I just mentioned, cartel, vertical restraint, and forced abuse of dominant possession. And here in Egypt, we are very similar to the EU competition regulation. So when we are having a specific case, a specific research, have this amount of valuable data on their website. Our colleague, she's our colleague on Central Bank of Egypt, and
Um, okay, so what Dr. Asma was saying here is that the European Union has a website, and this website contains the competition cases that are relevant to the region, and we follow closely their jurisdiction of France, so this is a valuable source for us. Okay, so this was a snapshot of the competition law, right? And how it's applied, how it's within our jurisdiction in the central bank, and why the EU is important to us. Okay, now I want to give you an example of a competition case, and I want to show you exactly what's going on, so you have an idea of competition law. So, for example, in some point in the early 2000s, 95% of operating systems on PCs were actually dominated by Windows, right? So Windows had a significant share in the market, in the operating system market, right? So they wanted to take advantage of that. What do we mean by that? Since most of the PCs has Windows as their operating system, they also bundled with it Internet Explorer. So if you want to use a browser, Internet Explorer is installed, and it's difficult to change that browser, right? So that is not really fair competition, because the user did not get to see what other browsers are out there, and they did not choose Internet Explorer. It was forced upon them, right? So Opera came to and told Windows, this is not fair. I should be able to compete too. People should see what I'm offering, and people should be able to pick the browser that suits their needs, right? Because competition law's target is fair competition among the different browsers, and the users pick what suits them best. All right? So who is responsible to listen to complaints like this? Who's responsible to listen to Opera and check if there is a violation of competition, if there's unhealthy competition going on? Is the Competition Commission or the National Competition Authority, right? So the first thing that's done, Opera goes to the Competition Authority, and they initiate a formal complaint, right? They mention their concern about Internet Explorer being tied to Windows PCs, right? Then the Competition Commission performs a preliminary investigation. They think, okay, let me see if there is actually a possible violation of healthy competition, right? And they conduct a preliminary investigation, and in this case, they realized that there is a legal article. There are enough grounds, sufficient grounds, to say that the legal Article 102 is being violated. And what does legal Article 102 say? It says that you should not abuse your dominance in a market. So even though you are dominant in the operating system market, you should not force people to use your browser just because you are available on 95% of PCs, right? So you should not abuse this dominance that you have in the operating system market to force people to use Internet Explorer and not see other kinds of browsers, right? So here the Competition Commission said, okay, there are sufficient grounds to say that Article 102 is being violated. So what's the next step? The next step is to conduct a formal investigation. And in this case, it's very important for the Competition Authority to look at the history of Microsoft. What other cases have they violated before? In what markets have they done violations? For example, this is the operating systems market. Have they done violations, for example, in the browser market? Have they done violations in particular desktop applications? So they look at the history of Microsoft, they look at the sectors they violated before, they see other companies that participated in violations with Microsoft are their criminal network. All of this background is very important for the formal investigation that has two goals, is to define the market in which the violation is happening. So here the browser market, we are seeing that Microsoft is trying to take it over by using their dominant position in the operating system market. And we need to be able to run legal and economic tests to see if Microsoft is indeed scientific methods to see if Microsoft is indeed abusing its dominant position, right? So this report with these details, the market in which the violation is taking place, the definition of the violation and the tests to see this violation, we call this the statement of objection, right? After that, Microsoft should have the right to respond, right? They should read this report and say, you know what, no, this is not the market where we're not doing a violation. This test is unfair. This is not the correct market you're defining. It's not just the browser market. Maybe they can say that, you know, technically, browsers should be tied to the operating system, right? But actually what happened in this case is that Microsoft looked at the formal investigation and they agreed that there is a breach of competition law, and how would they solve that? How would they make it fair? Instead of using Internet Explorer only, they're gonna have a screen on the Windows operating systems. And in the Windows operating systems, they should see the different browsers the user may use, right? So the user can check Opera, they might check Internet Explorer, and so on. So this solves the problem. Just because Windows is the dominant operating system doesn't mean now we're going to have Internet Explorer. They've accepted the solution of, okay, we're going to have a screen, and this screen is going to show us our different options. So like that, the user has the power to make the choice in which operating system they used based on merit, and this makes the competition fair among the different browsers, right? So, of course, after that, the competition authority is also responsible to check that these mechanisms or this decision that we've reached indeed is being implemented by Microsoft, and there is fair competition, that the problem has been solved, right? All right. So now this is mainly the steps every case follows. From case initiation, somebody complaining about a particular company or something suspicious found in the market, the competition authority has to do its preliminary and formal investigations, and they listen to the defendant company, and they reach a solution, a practice to make sure that the violation is not occurring, right? So here, what could be something that's very time-consuming? So in the preliminary investigation and the formal investigation, as we've mentioned, we need to look at relevant cases, right? We need to see the history of Microsoft's cases. We need to see their history of violations. What sectors have they tried to violate before? What companies participated with them in different cases? And these different companies, what were their surroundings? What have they violated? This may help us expose criminal networks of companies that are violating competition law, right? So what's the problem? The problem is that this is the EU website. It's very linear. So you have the ability to see different policy areas, so different violations. Do you want to see antitrust and cartels, merger? So here you can choose your violation. You can choose some filters, right? But the problem is when you choose those filters, you are seeing cases, a list of cases. However, we want more information than that. We want to see relationships among cases. Who were the companies involved with Microsoft in this case? What other cases were they involved with Microsoft in? And what sectors have they been performing violations in? What are the violations in different sectors? So this semantic layering, semantic exploration of relationships is not readily accessible on this website. And the problem is the competition authority manually has to check the cases and extract this information so they can pinpoint the cases to study for inspiration to prepare the report. And according to this report, they can proceed. So just imagine we have a dashboard that can speak in English to you. So the competition expert can ask what cases were Microsoft in and what other companies were involved in them. So you can see the history of Microsoft and other complicit companies. Imagine you can ask a dashboard these questions in English and then see a graph showing you these relationships, or asking how many violations were there in 2020 and so on, to understand the market better, understand the company involved better, the violations better, right? So when this happens, how will this help us? We will be able to pinpoint the cases we want to study faster. We will prepare our formal primary investigation and our formal investigation faster. So this helps the competition authority take on more cases faster and respond to the market faster. So this ensures a more competitive and healthy environment faster, because now the competition authority doesn't have to do the manual effort of finding links. Now they can just speak in English to the dashboard and see answers to their questions on the dashboard instead of having to go through this, right? So that is the solution we propose. We propose that, or that's what we've done. We have the European Union cases ingested in a knowledge graph, right? Or in a graph database, Neo4j, of course. And we want to communicate in Cypher, right? So the language we use to communicate with a graph database that models the relationships is Cypher, right? And the competition experts do not need to know Cypher. So we want them to be able to go on NeoDash, ask their question in English, select how they want to see the answer to the question. So for example, what companies have been involved with Microsoft in their cases. They can select a graph. This question is a text question. We use an LLM like OpenAI, and that's what we're going to show you today, to translate this English into Cypher. And this Cypher is used to retrieve the answer, the companies that were involved with Microsoft and their cases, and then we can see them on NeoDash as a graph, as we're going to show you later in the demo. So now I hand over the mic to my colleague Ahmad. He's going to explain to you exactly how we've prepared the EU cases knowledge graph, how we've modeled the most important relationships, and then followed by that, we're going to see a demo showing you exactly how these English questions are gonna be how these English questions can be entered, and we can see the results. So we can speak in English with our knowledge graph, and this knowledge graph shows us relationships that are not easy to find on the website.
Hi, thank you, Basant. So we had to do a series of steps to be able to build the knowledge graph to be able to query it later. So first we got the competition cases from the EU website, then we combined them into a single JSON file, and then we filtered and cleaned the data, and then uploaded the data to Neo4j and tried different relationships and nodes, and then we decided on one and built the knowledge graph later. So we got the merger cases and merger and antitrust cases from the EU website, which is publicly available, and we got the EU's permission to use this data. And then this data contained a ton of features that we had no use of. So we tried to filter the data. We did some analysis to see which features are we going to use, and we decided on 8 features. We also didn't filter by only features. We selected cases with the legal basis that we need. We only got articles 101, 102, and 105. And then we got our 9 features. And then we built the knowledge graph. So this is our schema. It mainly has a case, and the case have some attributes to it, such as the initiation date, the last decision date, its instrument, like is it mergers or is it antitrust? And then the other nodes are section, legal basis, and company. The legal basis has some attributes, and we have the case and relationship is the case has legal basis and then the legal basis name. We also have a section, and the section contains different attributes such as the class description, the class name and division group and code. And the relationship is that the case has a section and then the section name, and then finally the company's name. And we have a case involves a company, then the company's name. And now we are going to show you a live demo using NeoDash.
Yeah. So moving forward for the demo, I guess me as a competition expert, I would like to know the answer of 5 main questions, which are: what are the number of cases recorded in the e-competition formation? And then the second question would be how many cases according to each legal base. So according to 101, 102, and 105, and cases according to the activity or sector. and the number of cases initiated in 2024. And finally, I would like to know the number of cases related to a specific company, which would be one of the fintech technological companies.
Sure. So let's try a question by question. So our first
Sure.
question is how many cases in the database? So
Yes.
we write how many cases, and then we want our answer to be a single value. It's a number, so a single value. And then we run the query. So this is the first result. Moving to the second question, which was what is the distribution of cases across different legal bases? And then we only want the top three, and we want our answer in a bar chart. Okay, sorry. Moving to the next question. So we want to get how many cases in each section, and we would only like to return maybe the top five. So he gets each section name and the count of cases in each case, in each section. And maybe a question. The number of cases that was initiated in 2024. Sorry. Oh, here's the answer. And for the last question, we want to know all the cases that Microsoft was involved into. Here it is.
Okay, thank you, Ahmed, for your responses and data, which is honestly accurate. And for me, as a competition expert, the final question, the last question related to Microsoft cases is the most important question for me, because usually we have the same company, which would, in all cases would be a multinational company, having the same conduct across different countries. So having a list of these company violations across different countries would be helpful as a guidance for me to figure out what is the current conduct and having in any different country away from the originated country is a violation. So this really is very helpful. And of course, as one working on the Central Bank of Egypt, so I would be very much concerned with the cases in the financial sector, which was question 3. So having the number of cases of financial sector, and we can then subgroup these violations according to the legal base. It's really helped us to reach out to the research result easily and facilitate the process of getting the information. So this is really very helpful for us for the burst of research. And as I have mentioned before, we can relate the result of this research and just connect it with our ongoing project on chatbot, so we can enhance the other project also with these results. Thank you.
All right, so I've been answering your questions in the chat. Ahmed, can you please let me share screen?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. I thought my screen was being shared already. So I want to thank everyone for attending our session. I hope you have a good understanding now of competition law. You understood that the blocker was that the EU website didn't show complex relationships, and to help us pinpoint the exact cases that will inspire the investigation efforts to speed them up so we can take on more cases for a healthier and faster and healthier competition environment. I hope you've learned some information from our process in constructing the knowledge graph, and I hope you found inspiration in how we use the dashboard to ask our questions in English. And this English was translated to communicate with the knowledge graph in Cypher, and we got the results back. This helps the experts. This abstracts the technical details away from the experts so they can get their answers in simple charts they can understand. So I've answered questions in the chat. Please let us know if you have any questions, and you can feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn to ask us other questions you might have if time doesn't allow. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
So the team will be checking your questions in the chat and answering them. We have 2 minutes, I think. We will answer your questions in the chat. Otherwise, please feel free to connect with us and ask us questions on LinkedIn post-session. Thank you all for your feedback. I'm reading it while keeping the screen for you in case you want to connect with any of us. Varun is asking, are you use named entity recognition to extract the similar entities? So Varun, actually, we didn't need to do that. So by nature, the cases are connected because they're connected via, if they're all violating the same legal basis, then they're all, they're all connected to the same legal basis. If the violation is happening in a specific sector, then they're all connected via the same sector. So we have already a set of nodes for the kind of violations that happen, and the cases are connected to them. And we have a set of sectors, and the cases are also connected to them. So we did not need to perform named entity recognition. We just extracted these attributes we've shown you in the presentation, like the legal basis being violated and the sector. And we used those to link the graphs together and with other nodes. Sorry, to link the cases together and with other important nodes that show relationships among these cases. So no, we did not need to perform name entity extraction. The features and the nodes, the nodes and their properties were already readily provided in the JSON. We just did some extraction and some cleaning to make sure we have the cases that we want and to normalize some of the information. I hope this answers the question. John, I like your observations on the EU ruling. That's very interesting. Opera was massively better than IE. I never tried it before. Okay. Thank you all for your feedback. Feel free to ask us questions on LinkedIn. Otherwise, I think we're done for the session. If any of the organizers are here. I'm going to be checking your questions until then. Thank you all and have a great one.